Rob Flax here. I play things with strings, I hit stuff, and I sing. And I'm at the NAMM Show with the one and only Razz.
Hi.
We are so excited to be here, and we're going to deliver an on-the-road, tasty, multi-sandwich version of Fuzz Fiddle with Flax.
Awesome stairs in this end of this little hallway. The NAMM Show is massive. All of these technology companies, all of these instrument companies come here. So if you've never been to the NAMM Show, it's Candyland for musicians.
And absolute chaos.
Yes.
So what better way to set up a casual interview than in a quiet hallway with 100,000 of our closest friends? Razz, you are a multi-everything person. You play an amazing Mark Wood Instruments Viper. This is your main axe.
Yep.
You are an experienced fuzz user.
I am.
So tell us a little bit about how do you like to use fuzz?
Fuzz for me is almost in some senses preferable to distortion.
Interesting.
Yeah, and it just depends on which kind. People kind of lump fuzz, distortion, and overdrive in the same category, and they're not. They behave very differently, and
not all dirt is created equal.
Exactly.
Yes.
So I like to use fuzz for like you said, dirt. So I like to use overdrive and fuzz. I almost never like to actually use distortion because I think our instruments, our high frequencies just build up so crazy that distortions can sound very, very oversaturated very quickly.
Yeah.
So fuzz is a way, because it's not affecting the high frequencies as much as maybe some other circuitry does. I like fuzz for creating grit and dirt without risking sounding like so shrill you have to clap your hands over your ears.
That's a risk. That's a risk. So not all fuzzes are created equal. Certainly not all distortion is created equal. But what do we have here? We have your little portable pedal board rig.
Yeah.
Fly rig. Maybe?
And I don't use as many stop boxes anymore for my rig. And to be honest, I don't actually get to fuzz up as much as I want to. I'm making that change because let's be real, I miss it. But I love the JHS Muffuletta. It's one of the few outboard pedals I actually do reach for because I do like analog circuitry for fuzz and for distortions and for any time that you're actually going to be creating that kind of signal chain, because I do think impulse response in digital versions, while they are good, they have lagged behind other types of effects like reverbs and delays.
Right.
So I think we're getting better at getting true good distorted fuzz, but circuitry is always good to go. So I digress.
Agreed.
JHS Muffuletta.
Yes. So tell me about, this is based on the big muff pedal.
It is. It is actually 6 completely different muff circuits.
Wow.
So you've got a massive array of very classic muffs, and I kind of remember they're all just, I think of them as very different things. So this is the Civil War. Mm-hmm. This is the Russian. Things like Black Russian, pie, triangle. I never like snail.
Ram's head.
Yeah.
Ram's head.
Ram's head. Thank you.
Oh, yeah.
I was just like snail. The Ram's head.
One of those animals with a curly.
And then JHS's take on their kind of version of the muff. So
Gotcha.
That's the one I end up liking a lot, and we can do a little demo of all of them and sort of my favorites and the ones that I don't use as much. But the JHS has enough of like a sculpted high range that's not too shrill.
Nice.
So I would say that sounds the closest to me. The Civil War and the JHS kind of have that more high-end fidelity versus if you want like a more balanced muff tone. And then the pie is that kind of classic Jimi Hendrix, very cut-off, sculpted, low-pass kind of feel.
Cool. Okay, before we get into the sounds in here, because I would love it if you'd flick through all of them just to show us how they play with your instrument, I have a couple of questions about the rest of the chain.
Yeah.
We have on here 2 Line 6 products. No endorsement yet. Line 6, please sponsor her. Okay, so we have the Relay G10S, which is a wireless setup.
It is.
That scares me with fuzz. Analog circuitry and fuzz doesn't always mix. So what I'm hearing here is the Muffuletta plays nice with wireless.
Okay. I mean, I honestly, that wasn't something I'd ever really experienced or thought much of.
Yes!
And what
Plugged it in and it worked. So shout out to Line 6 for that, and shout out to Wood Violins. Those play nice together.
They do. The Line 6 Relay G10S plays really well with others.
And then that's going into the HX Stomp.
Yes.
So talk to us about what you have dialed up here. Do you have a go-to setting for this? And how does the Muffuletta play with the different sounds from the Stomp?
The Muffuletta is basically, because I don't like digital fuzz as much, although this Line 6 just came out with a new patch for this that has some actually really amazing fuzz tones, and
We'll
they've gotten much
explore.
better.
We'll explore.
We'll explore. It's a fun little box, but I'm doing this a little bit janky today. If I was being true to what I think it should be, is this would go directly into this, and then I would have like a second effects loop coming in and out.
Gotcha.
Right now we're not doing that. We're coming straight from the wireless into the JHS into the Line 6. So if I was going to be squeaky clean about it, I would actually have an effects loop, which means that I'm coming into this, I can do a whole set of EQs, which I already have dialed in.
Right.
Then I come into my any gain staged pieces,
Right.
which are fuzz, distortion, amp simulation, and then I'm going to go into my ladder effects, which are going to be my delays, echoes, any kind of other modulation. I prefer to stick with a very classic approach to a pedal board, which is definitely like go in the order of gain.
Increasing or decreasing?
Increasing. Well, yeah, I want my gain staging pedals to happen early in the chain,
Okay.
so that then they, delays are going to happen at the end. I don't want to be putting a fuzz into something that has been delayed. I want to go
Drive first.
drive first.
Well, fuzz into drive, into delays.
Yeah.
If you have two different gain stages that are, maybe, do you ever have like two overdrives on the same setup? And
Yeah.
Do you put the heavier drive first into the lighter one, or the lighter one into the heavier?
Lighter one into the heavier one.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah.
Cool. So,
And that's mostly because I like to. Maybe it's just one of this is like convenient left to right thing of like I'm sort of reading it up like a book, and for me it just makes sense. I haven't noticed that there's a huge appreciable difference because most of the time if I'm having multiple drives, I almost never use them simultaneously.
oh, okay. That's why.
Yeah.
Got it. So it's either or and doesn't matter.
Yeah, that I don't
Gotcha.
because I like to dial in the tone as I like it to be. The only exception to that is if I'm doing multiple drives when this violin has 7 strings on it,
Right.
so I can actually cut my signal into 2 pieces, so I can only have an effect on the lower register of the instrument, and I'm just gonna completely bypass the higher register.
Sweet. And that's just within the stomp. It has like a filter, or how do you do that?
So in the stomp, you can double chain out. It's got the ability to cut the chain anywhere you need to, and then at that cut, you can set which filter pass you're going to use.
Well, let's just hear what do you have dialed up right now? Just
So
a
right now we've
cleanish-
got the JHS Classic Fuzz, their take on it, and
Can we hear your clean tone first?
yeah, sure.
Andy
This is my
Martin's
reverb tone that I use very cleanly. I'm leaving the reverb on for this because this is more of a solo-y thing. If I was playing in a band, I would almost never have fuzz and reverb happening at the same time.
Right. You just rock. It's more of a rhythm thing and chunk away.
Yeah, I mean the whole point of reverb. So we can try it with it on and off if we want to see what that
Sure.
is like. So
You
let's
can
do it.
bypass
Yeah,
it and then
it's
chunk
really-
and then
really fast
slam
to
it on for
bypass.
solo.
So we can start the fuzz, JHS fuzz, and here we go. So I've got this whole violin in drop D right now, so this is kind of the fun part. Octaves.
Wait, what is the tuning now?
Um,
Can you just go through all the strings?
yeah, so we've got D, B flat.
Oh wow. Still B flat at the bottom,
So
just in
I was-
case.
Well, it's kind of like I don't hate it.
Yeah.
I don't hate it. That interval is fine. So, it's just like, yeah.
Down there.
I was just, and there's enough curvature I can kind of avoid smacking it. So.
Right. May I tweak and
Yeah.
if I just flip through all 6 of these and
Yeah,
we keep
just-
the same? And we've got the tone at noon, the volume at noon, and the sustain.
I like a lot more sustain. Volume, I just don't want to blow up your setting.
Right.
Tone, I usually like to stay middle unless I find those settings pretty shrill, and then I'll roll it off. I almost never for violins. These circuits are still built around expecting guitar style tones,
Right.
so almost every pedal across the board, unless there's a really good reason to move the tone knob, I'm almost always sitting at 12 o'clock or
darker.
Or darker.
Yeah, right. To cut the. Okay.
Yeah,
Here we go.
there we go.
there's so many different sounds in there.
Yeah.
So I'm just noticing. So the tone sweep is huge on this thing. It's a really, and each circuit, the curve of it is slightly different. And is it just my imagination, or is the JHS setting like louder than all of the others?
I would not be surprised if they did that on purpose.
Loud is more good.
Yeah, loud is more good. So it's kind of just gonna be like, ours is the loudest because it's the loudest.
Whoa, I like that one. So if I level matched them, I did really like the ram's head. I think the triangle and the pie were maybe a little more. I've heard that sound and it's cool. The ram's head to me is like a real bitey. It's got a snarl to it.
Yeah, I like the ram's head. I like the Civil War. The pie is that Hendrix sound. So yeah, it's very familiar. I don't really like the Russian, but ironically, that tone that you're talking about, that massive sweep of tone, is something that JHS pulled out as being a problem with muffs, that they didn't have enough tonal sweeping range.
Right.
So the Civil War, sorry, not the Civil War, the Russian original circuitry that had the best tone sweep. So they actually did that research and preserved the tone sweep out of this one pedal and then applied it
to all six. Oh, slick. Okay.
For what this is, it's like such a nice compact pedal that it works well with high range violins, I feel like, and that's something that's always hard to find in a pedal, is not all pedals play well with that.
Especially all 7 strings, and that's the. Could we turn the reverb back on, and maybe we'll go back to your preferred setting? And can you just give us all the way across the whole frequency spectrum?
Yeah. So here's here's that and then there's gonna be a very weird transition sonically, but sorry.
That's okay.
We're in a different game.
Smooth all the way up. Like even on the E string, it's not too shrill, but it has a nice sustain. Has like a bloom almost.
Yeah, and I'm curious to see. I can also let me do an experiment.
Sure.
I'm gonna do the same thing, but now I'm gonna turn off my EQ that I've put in the chain.
Okay.
So then let's see how much is just me doing my job right, and how much is this actually works.
Yes, because the HX Stomp has a bunch of other. Are you going into an EQ and a cab sim, or is it just EQ?
I am actually going into an EQ, and I'm going into an impulse response that's modeling the natural compression that a violin body would be giving, because I have no body compression.
Right.
So that's going to give it this like almost woody sound that people associate with violin.
Yeah, I was going to say that the clean tone on that is very different from every other viper I've heard.
Yeah, and that's because I'm doing a very
secret sauce behind the scenes. Okay,
giant
all right.
nerdy impulse response.
Yes.
So this.
Do you sell these? Is this a thing that people can contact you for?
This was given to me by Chuck Bontrager.
Oh, Chuck. Oh, we have to so get him on the show at some point.
So Chuck Bontrager has the access to the file. It's his recording. So he built this IR, this impulse response.
That's amazing.
So if you want to contact Chuck Bontrager and maybe like pay him some money, maybe he give you that file.
Go check out Chuck.
Yeah, check out Chuck Bontrager. So this is Chuck's IR.
Can we hear just your regular tone and then no IR and EQ, real flat, real boring?
Yeah.
I mean, not boring.
I've got a parametric EQ, so we've got bypass the parametric EQ, bypass the IR.
Ooh, bonus question for other EQ nerds. What frequencies do you set your parametric EQ to?
Oh, right. So my low frequency is 240.
240.
My mid frequency is 1.
1K.
Yep.
Presumably.
1K.
Just 1 hertz.
Just 1 hertz. 1K.
It's the mids.
Okay. If I really have a sculpting ability, I prefer to do a 1K and a 500 to 700, depending on what I'm going to be playing. But if I have to pick, I'm going to pick 1K and not completely chop myself off at the knees with a 700.
Gotcha.
And then a 3.9 kilohertz at my highs.
To remove the
Yeah, the honks.
Okay, nice.
So that's my preferred. 250 definitely on the low Vipers is important.
That makes sense. Yeah.
Because we need a little bit more depth of range. If I was doing my normal violin, maybe it would be already at,
kind of tightens up the bottom end of the 5, 6, 7.
Yeah,
that makes sense.
And I think I've also set these with a complete high pass and low pass sculpt at 100 and I want to say 7K or 10K.
Okay.
So I just have literally cleaned up the bands.
Kind of amp-like in terms of the roll off at the top there.
Yeah, I mean, I just make sure that, especially working with a band, if you're going to be in a group setting, the
Right.
more you just take out that there's even a possibility of making some, like, maybe it's a low gain hum and the pedal is just going to take that out because you're not even passing signal through at one.
Remove the 60 cycle hum. Yeah.
Yeah, so you
Although
can't.
we love that show. So it's a great podcast, 60 cycle hum.
But don't
Shout out Ryan
do
Burke.
it. Don't need it. Okay, so we bypassed all the EQs,
Okay.
and now I'm going to do. Oh, did we have? No, I had to turn it back on. So
Let's hear the
Okay.
flat. Oh, it's so different. Whoa. A little bit
It's
of-
pretty nasty.
So let me turn this fuzz on and hear how that sounds. Okay, here we go.
Yeah. No, it has no modulation. It's got no container.
I
right?
kind of love it though. Yeah, okay, it's too much.
It's too much, right? It's like so easy to get out of hand, and I can't really hear what he's hearing. So this is
Yeah.
hilarious. Like Razz is playing things, and she's like, "Oh, this sounds good." I don't know what to tell you.
Probably terrible. Probably awesome. Could be any of the above.
I don't
Okay,
know.
so wow. Not only does the fuzz itself make it good, I guess can we flip through
Yeah,
these again?
let's do
Let's
it.
make terrible sounds on every setting.
Yes.
Okay, ready, go.
All right.
Nice.
So-
Wow. Okay, yeah.
What was your favorite now without any of the permutations? I can't hear.
They
I'm
were
so
all
curious.
terrifying. I think the Russian was a little smoother.
Uh-huh.
I liked the pie also. So the ones that before I was like, now because it's so unhinged, they're the least unhinged.
Yeah, that's okay because they're probably sculpting down quite a bit.
Right.
Those two specific settings,
Yeah.
because those are the ones I do find have the most roll off.
Right.
So that's probably, you need it. We desperately need that roll off in order to not make things go crazy. But when you've got a good handle on your tone, then that roll off is not really helping. It's just making it sound kind of dead.
Right.
So that makes sense.
One last question. Can we bring back all the magic sauce?
Okay.
And I want to tweak the sustain control because it's not entirely clear. I mean, I tried a little bit of sustain messing
Okay.
and it went from thin and nothing to like splatty terrible.
Okay.
Okay.
So we're doing sustain.
Sustain.
Yep. Oh, and I can hear it. I can actually do false harmonics.
Yeah. Okay. Last question. I thought I had the last one. How does it work with Pizzicato?
Oh, yeah.
How do we? I want to. This is probably a sustain.
You're probably way better at Pizzicato than me on these setups.
Yeah, please.
Yeah. That's kind of a fun little
Yeah. You're
walker.
You're a bassist now.
Ah, what are your thoughts? I wish you.
Do you want me to try?
Yeah.
Oh, well, this is a good excuse for you to meet my new violin.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, all right.
Got all this buildup of the Volta. You already have a resonant body. You don't need it as much, so you can totally.
Makes sense.
And this is also why, if I was really doing this properly, I would make sure that IR happened before the fuzz.
Right.
So like that would be the ideal scenario, so that woody tone that you're getting with the impulse response is actually getting affected on the fuzz, and I think that would make a difference too.
Fuzz into IR, or into fuzz.
Right now it's fuzz into IR, and I don't think I like it as much as it should be, which is actually taking it out.
As if you had a wooden thing going into the fuzz.
Yes, that was always
Now
gonna.
it's the fuzz going into the wooden thing.
Yeah, and that's
which
gonna
is
make it muddy.
It defies physics. Settings
Yeah.
and the things there?
Job with that one.
So it's a completely different pickup with a completely different resonance with a different number of strings into it. The rest is the same, but the IR is, we turned off the IR, so a different signal chain. And it turns out one of them is gonna be the good one.
Yeah.
So worth checking out if you're curious about big muff sounds. You want something smooth. You don't want the Velcro gated thing. You don't want the rip your ears off tone bender thing. You want something that's a good lead tone or rhythm chunky thing, but you're not sure which one. There's 6, so
you don't have to pick.
Muffuletta.
And you don't have to have something that's going to take up like half of your pedal board.
Right. So a good budget buy and a good real estate.
Yeah, I think they are about, what is it, like a typical 150, 200. I don't think they will break the bank.
JHS is usually pretty affordable, yeah.
They're not like Boss level of like super cheap, but Boss is last forever. And this has lasted forever. I mean, this has been on tour with me for years. And you know, even the chassis is pretty indestructible.
Right.
And it's been on tour and it does not look like an on tour pedal.
There's a really good JHS Show episode where Josh makes fun of the phrase built like a tank.
Yeah.
Because every manufacturer claims their thing is built like a tank.
Well,
so he goes through it and shows every pedal. This one's built like a tank. This one's built like a tank. This one, wow, this one's built like a tank. It's really great. But this appears to be built like a tank.
It's quite is, yeah. I've never had any issues with this pedal at all. Like no weirdness. I mean, it's just so simple in many ways. Of like, there's a light. Les on the pedals on. And it's sometimes hard to remember like what the symbols mean in terms of like which one it is, but just look at the manual. It's my favorite fuzz. I was really excited when you said that you hadn't used it before.
I haven't. Yeah, no, this is great. If people want to find Razz, where should they go?
So my name is Razz, R-A-Z-Z, because I'm cool like that.
Two Z's.
And two Z's, R-A-Z-Z, and I'm playing violin, so Razz VO. So RazzVio.com.
V-I-O.
V-I-O, yeah. So RazzVio, RazzVio.com, and I have a YouTube channel as well. I'm gonna end up cross-posting this on there.
Yay!
I do have like an old defunct like how to play electric violin things, but everybody else is doing it better than me. But mostly it's like for videos of music that I'm producing. Please follow on Instagram. If you want to do it follow me on TikTok.
Yeah.
And I have beef right now.
Wow. Oh, we'll talk.
Yeah.
I want to hear this bit
Yeah,
later.
oh my god.
When the
Anyway, so
cameras are
social
off.
media, I like Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. Those are my primary channels.
Right.
And email, DM me any questions about pedals because I'm a nerd. So
Yeah.
I like it.
And if you're in California and want to take pole, is that also?
Yes, I am a pole dancing instructor.
The coolest violinist I know. It's insane. That's amazing. The core strength alone.
Well, I just really knew that I needed to be able to like lift 50 pounds over my head with regularity in our jobs. Like we schlep all the time,
Right.
and you gotta protect your back.
Yeah.
So I needed a workout.
This
and
was
I
the
wasn't-
most efficient way was pole.
Well, I can't do yoga because I have no inner peace.
That's why we're here. Thanks so much for
slow.
watching. If you enjoyed the episode, please click the like button and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and go subscribe to Razz's channel. And thank you to my Patreon supporters on patreon.com/rawflax. There will be some bonus stuff for this episode, so go check me out there, patreon.com/rawflax for more. Thank you. See you in the next one. Bye.
Bye.